Hello, this is Brian Hagney, instructor of Game and Interactive Media Design here at High Point University. Second video of week 12, 4Com 1113, graphic software packages. Setting up the InDesign project. So we haven't worked with InDesign. Oh my gosh, yes, of course we've worked with InDesign. And you set up your own Photostory project, right? So let's go back and kind of look at what we did. I'm going to go to InDesign. And I'm just going to create a new one from scratch, let's say, right? And that was to go to the Create New. Before we used one page, right? So let's go to my assignment here and to figure out what we're actually doing. We've got technical specs, 8.5 by 11 this time in portrait mode, margins 3/4 all the way around, and 4 pages. So, do I tell us how long the bleed is? I don't. So I'm going to tell us how long the bleed is. Normally, if you want to know how big to do your bleeds, you'll ask your printer. So right now I'm looking at Amazon's page. This is for uploading PDFs to print paperbacks for Amazon Kindle's direct, what do they call it? Direct printing? And they talk about a bleed. And if you don't know what a bleed yet is, it's the space outside of your page edge. And they will tell you 0.125 inches. That's what they want for a bleed. My bleed, I'm going to use 0.25 inches because it's easier to see. And that's really what I care about for you guys. Okay, so let's create a new one. I'm going to use inches because that's what I'm familiar with. I'm telling you, 8.5 by 11. We are going to set that to 4 pages. And this is where we get a little bit different from what we did before. Before, we did set margins, but we didn't set the bleed. I'm not going to do slug. We'll just do a bleed. Here, what are my mandates? I forgot what I said. For my margins are 3/4 of an inch, right? So I'm going to say 0.75. 0.75 inches. And for all of them, and that's perfect, 3/4 is 0.75. For my bleed and slug now, I'm going to set all of the bleeds to 0.25 inches. And I'm just going to preview that so we can see what's going on. And I'm going to move this over. I can't do that. So notice if I set the bleed to 0, it's what you kind of recognize already. This little paper, right? There's your paper. There's your margin. The bleed is going to be new. And the bleed is if you have a picture that's going to be pushed to the very edge of your page. And let's say 0.25 inches. That is the red line that goes beyond the white of your paper. So this gray area in between here is really important. If you're going to have a picture that goes to the top left corner of your page, it's actually not going to stop at the page edge. It's going to stop at this red line, which is the bleed. That is going to be crucial. I'm going to create this. All right. So there we have it. We've got 4 pages now for our design. Now here's the other thing, is notice the one student, oh, I closed it already, so I'm going to have to reopen it. Let's see. Over here, magazine. Remember the image I showed last video, where we have this front page is over to the left, this title page is to the right, and this almost looks like you are looking at the layout, right? The layout as this line in the middle is your spine. That looks a lot like the High Point magazine, the way you'd open a book up and read that. So I'm not looking at my work like that, though, so I want to be able to do that. Let's go ahead and click File. If you're on a Mac, you may have to go to Edit. In any case, you're going to have to find Document Setup. For Windows, it's under File, Document Setup. It is possible on your Mac it's under Edit. I can't remember right now. It's either or. Document Setup. In any case, you are going to change the facing pages to be checked. Now, if you do that and you just hit OK. Let's preview that. I can't really show you an example because it won't let me scroll, but it still gives this image, this page here. I'm gonna say OK, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So this first page is alone, and then we have a middle spread, and then we have this page over here to the back. And so here is an example of what that might be, right? Because if your first page is the cover, if you have 4 pages, your first page would be the cover, and that's all by itself. Pages 2 and 3 are now facing each other. And then if you only had 4 pages, right, you'd like, let's just switch to the end, you have, of course, after you fold the last page over, you've got your back cover. Well, that's not what we're actually producing. We are producing something that would be a 4-page spread all by itself. So you'd have your cover here, second page is here, and your third and fourth page would be a facing pages spread of your story. And the reason why I do 4 pages, you might think, Hegney, why would we ever devote all of that real estate when it could really just be a 2-page photo story spread? And my reason is I want you to do a full-page photoshopped poster. That's why, to use the skills you used for your memes, which were awesome. And then I wanted to make sure everyone had the same like facing pages. So that's why I include a 4th page, which is your second page, which is just the title screen. And you saw those in the last video. So if it confuses you, if you don't know what you're going to do for in terms of what are the 4 pages supposed to be for us, go back to that first video, check out the examples that I showed you. Okay, now that we looked at that, let's go back to InDesign and really show us what we should be doing. I'm going to zoom out to see. This would be like the cover, inside spread, and then the back cover. Well, we're not doing that. So how are we going to fix that? We are going to go to File, Document Setup, and instead of starting on page 1, we are going to start on page 2. And when we hit, yeah, that should preview that. There we go. And as you preview that, that shows, okay, this is page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. And if we were working on a team, and I was going to give you my InDesign, you might be working on pages 2, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Our other partner might be making 10, 11, 12, and 13 pages, right? And so we could combine those at the end when we needed to. I'm going to say OK here. Okay, and this is what I want us to get to. This is set up. I could say File, Save As. I'm going to find my folder that I'm using, 2020 Spring, COM 1113. I'm going to put it in TR, and I'm going to put it in Photostory Magazine, InDesign, and I'm going to call this BH underscore Magazine Photostory. INDD. And the INDD now is that okay, you're actually used to this. That's right. I don't have to re-say this. Sorry, I feel like I'm doing this for the first time, but we did this all for the photo story. You all know what an INDD is. You know you should be saving multiple copies. Okay, let's close this. Now, the problem would be, or what if you want to do an easy way, right? What if you want to do something really easy? Like you already have your photo story layout. Why would you want to import all those images again? That's going to be really hard or annoying. You already have the text. Let's go ahead and open our photo story from our newspaper. Let's pretend we're going to do that. So I'm going to go into my photo story newspaper page. You all should have this. And again, if you don't, you're going to be starting from scratch. Yes, of course. If you do have your content, all of your files, you're good. You can go to InDesign. You can open up the latest version that you have. Update and modified links. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's just saying I'm missing the font. That's because this student probably worked on a Mac and I'm working on a PC. That's fine. Okay, so this is what the Photostory looks like. But it's huge, right? And so what I want to do, there's this really cool feature, and if you go to Edit, if you go to File, again, for a Mac, I believe it's under Edit. Windows, PC, definitely under File. There's a tool called Adjust Layout. Adjust Layout. Extremely helpful. I'm going to click it. This is basically saying, okay, so your photo story was 15 inches wide, 22.75 inches tall. What if I want to do an 8.5 by 11 inch tall? I'm going to auto adjust margins to paper size. Yeah, let's do that. If I don't do that, remember we have 1-inch margins, right? So I am going to adjust those to fit accordingly. Oh no, not adjust those. Sorry, I don't want to adjust those. Auto adjust. Let's do that and actually see. Oh, it's not giving me a preview. If I don't adjust these, oh, I know what I'm going to do. Duh. Sorry. If I don't adjust them at all, just leave this box unchecked and leave this unchanged, it's going to have, 2 inches at the top. I'm going to set this to 0.75 inch all around. There we go. So changing my margins, giving myself a bleed. So that's 0.25 all around. Now, I don't want to adjust my font size. See, here's the thing. This font size is 12-point font. That's readable text. That's what I want. So I am not going to adjust font size. If you were going towards, well, I don't know when you would use this. Maybe if you were going down to a business card from a billboard, yes, you would adjust your font size because a billboard's text won't fit on a business card, but they're similar in the sense the proportion of the text to the size, to the aspect ratio. Okay, but we're not going to do that. Adjust locked content, sure. I don't think I have any locked content, but if I did, I'd want that adjusted too. When you click OK, it basically reformatted this now. To 8.5 by 11. Now, what we see is, I'm going to tap W, I do have a lot of my text which is overset. Here's text is overset, and that's okay because I'm just going to resize this stuff anyway, and I'm going to have multiple pages. So this is what I'm going to do now. That was only one page, so now I can go to my file, a document setup, and say, no, I want 4 pages, facing pages, start on page 2. All of this stuff stays the same. Bleed is still there, and adjust page elements. No, we just did that. Adjust layout and say OK. And now I'm going to zoom out a little bit to show you what we have. And if you want, I can now take all of this content and move it into the 3rd page. Kind of zoom in, and now I can play around with, where is my text going to be? Where are these images going to be? And we're going to be moving things around a little bit. And this is where I want you to look for inspiration from the magazine. I'm not going to ask you to come up with your own design. Layout design is a huge graphic design challenge. I'm going to want you to look in the magazine to kind of find your own, to find one to emulate and to copy. Okay? In the next video, not that. In the next video, we'll be looking at swatches for our color scheme, and that's going to be a lot of fun. See you there!